Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're embarking on a real cinematic descent into the absolute extremes of our planet. We're going to uncover 10 of the most unforgiving, hostile, and just downright terrifying locations on Earth. Now, to be clear, these are not your next vacation spots. We're talking about environments that actively resist human presence. From boiling acid lakes and crushing ocean chasms, to hidden valleys guarded by uncontacted tribes, and even microscopic killers, we are stepping way off the map, right into the danger zone.
The world is full of places where one wrong move can get you killed. Seriously, out here, there are zero safety nets, no quick rescues. You get almost no room for error because the environment itself is the adversary. So, let's just go straight into the belly of the beast.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. Extreme elements and jungles.
Check out this staggering contrast. On one side, you have the absolute oven-like extremes of California's Death Valley. But the craziest part, the deadliest threats there aren't just the crushing heat. We're talking single-vehicle rollovers, totally unstable hidden mine shafts, and even illegal marijuana grow sites. The absolute best safety advice here, just never ever leave the paved roads. But then, on the exact opposite end of the spectrum, you have Antarctica's dry valleys. It is a freezing desert that is somehow drier than the Sahara, and it just bombards you with relentless, DNA-damaging UV radiation. Actually, back in 1973, explorer Wolf Vishniak tragically lost his life slipping into one of the deep, hidden icy crevices out there. Survival in the dry valleys relies 100% on extreme weather gear and tethered navigation. So, two polar opposites, both equally lethal.
Moving from extreme temps, we land in what we call the untamed wilds. First up is the Darien Gap. Imagine 60 miles of a completely roadless, steep rainforest nightmare connecting Central and South America. The terrain is practically impassable, blocked by flash floods, landslides, and venomous wildlife. But despite all that, and facing extortion from the Gulf Clan cartels, over 520,000 migrants survived this brutal crossing in 2023 just out of sheer desperation. Then there's the Amazon's Vale de Javari. This is an unexplored region in Brazil that's roughly the size of Maine. It is so isolated that uncontacted tribes there have historically fired poison-tipped arrows at mapping helicopters. Nature has permanently hung a massive "Do Not Disturb" sign here. So the ultimate safety advice? Stay out.
So, we've seen what extreme temperatures and incredibly hostile terrain can do to the human body, right? But what if the danger wasn't a steep cliff or a freezing desert? What if the very water you touched was literally designed to tear you apart molecule by molecule?
Which brings us to Section 2, Toxic Waters and Nuclear Ruins.
Let's talk about Lake Natron in Tanzania. It literally glows blood red because of these unique microbes. But the real horror here, it's the chemistry. The water boasts an alkaline pH above 10, so basically as caustic as industrial cleaner, and it bakes at a sweltering 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Unlucky animals that die in this lake undergo a horrifying natural taxidermy process. They turn into calcified mummies. Now, there is a crazy survival story here. In 2007, a helicopter actually crashed into the lake. The pilots managed to wade to the shore and survived, but they suffered severe chemical burns. So, safety advice? Do not even let a single drop of this water touch your skin.
Now, what's really interesting about this next spot is the invisible danger it represents. We're looking at International Atomic Energy Agency data detailing the radioactive dose rates surrounding the Bikini Atoll in the Pacific. Decades after the atomic tests, that invisible radiation just lingers right there in the soil and the water. Now, as a fascinating hidden fact, local wildlife has strangely adapted to it over time, but it remains absolutely lethal to humans. The only safety advice here is strict avoidance. It's wild. It just proves humanity can permanently poison its own environments long after the actual historical events have passed.
All right, so we've navigated the heat, the cold, the jungles, and invisible radiation. But what happens when you step so far off the grid, just so deep into the isolated unknown, that if something goes wrong, rescue isn't just difficult, it's a mathematical impossibility?
Welcome to Section 3, Deep Oceans and Forbidden Islands.
5,500. That is the pounds of pressure per square inch at the bottom of the Mariana Trench in the Western Pacific. To put that into perspective, our deep oceans are essentially giant industrial-grade trash compactors. Historically, very few people have ever survived the journey down there. And a tiny structural flaw in a submersible doesn't just mean you send up a distress call, It means a violent, rapid implosion in a fraction of a millisecond. The only safety advice for this level of extreme, crushing isolation is flawless engineering.
Back up on the surface, geographical isolation breeds a totally different kind of nightmare. Ilha de Queimada Grande. You probably know it as Snake Island. Sitting just 21 miles off the coast of Sao Paulo, Brazil, this 106-acre rock was cut off by rising sea levels thousands of years ago, and that trapped and hyper-evolved its inhabitants. It is now home to thousands of golden lanceheads, which are some of the most venomous snakes alive today. Locals will exaggerate and say there's a snake for every square meter. Historically, a grim hidden fact is that the last lighthouse keeper and his family reportedly perished there in the 1920s while trying to flee through the forest. Today, Brazilian naval patrols make it strictly off-limits. The safety advice is absolute quarantine. It protects you, and it protects the snakes.
And this brilliantly illustrates our next forbidden zone, North Sentinel Island. It's a tiny 23 square mile speck in the Indian Ocean that maintains the strictest no guests policy on Earth. It's continuously patrolled by the Indian Navy to keep outsiders far, far away. Why? Because it's inhabited by an isolated Stone Age tribe that is violently hostile to visitors. History is full of deadly encounters here, like the tragic 2018 death of American missionary John Allen Chow when he attempted contact. Astonishingly, just recently in 2025, a U.S. thrill seeker actually landed on the beach trying to offer them Diet Coke and coconuts. I mean, no way, right? Incredibly, he somehow survived the encounter only to be immediately arrested by authorities the second he got back. It really remains one of the last truly untamed places left on the globe.
Okay, we've crossed lethal oceans, avoided venomous islands, and steered clear of uncontacted arrows. But are you ready for the #1 most terrifying spot on Earth? A place where you don't even have to make a mistake to face lethal consequences?
Let's get into Section 4, the most terrifying unknown.
This is Katuum Cave in Kenya. Now, it's not the deepest cave in the world. It drops just under 3,000 feet. But the mechanism of infection here is terrifyingly simple. Step 1, you enter the cavern. There are no warning signs, no fences, nothing. Step 2, as you walk, you unknowingly kick up and inhale the powdered bat guano that heavily coats the cave floor. And Step 3, you contract the Marburg virus. It's a terrifying hemorrhagic fever closely related to Ebola, and it boasts an apocalyptic fatality rate of up to 88%. Literally, just breathing the air in this cave is enough to sign your own obituary.
Let's soberly look at this legacy of dread. In 1980, a French engineer explored Kituum Cave and soon died in sheer agony. Fast forward to 1987, a Danish boy visited and suffered the exact same fatal exposure. These were just casual visitors who essentially walked into a biological landmine. And today, the cave astonishingly remains unfenced. It's known primarily to extreme cavers who flat out refuse to enter. The absolute safety advice from the caving community: stay out. It is unequivocally the deadliest unseen trap in the natural world.
From the oven-like expanse of Death Valley and the crushing depths of the Mariana Trench, to the fiercely guarded shores of North Sentinel Island and the viral dust of Kituum Cave, our planet is spectacularly beautiful, but it is also relentlessly unforgiving. It demands absolute respect. So I want to leave you with this final lingering thought. Knowing what you know now about the invisible threats, the crushing pressures, and the deadly inhabitants that guard these extremes, would you ever visit one of these places?